Hey there. One of the beautiful things that I've started to understand about passing 40 is that there gets to be this point where you have connections and friendships, but it's like it's not the same anymore as 20 or 30. And things that you might have, or this is my experience, that I might have found okay, or that I just was like, all right, anyway, this is the way this person is. Like, they don't really fly in the 40s. It's kind of like life gets a little more serious. The crises of 40 are deeper. Um, there's deeper excavating. And suddenly it's like, wait, who do I even talk to? Who, who understands me? Do I even know who I am? And who can I be vulnerable with and open up to? So, I am going to fly a flag for authenticity, and for growing emotional muscle. Alright, so since I started making these videos, because I open up a lot about things that I don't have a place to talk about in the rest of my life, it's actually helped me to redefine myself, if I even needed redefining, but to talk very frankly about some aspects of my life that I was just too shy for, too scared for, or didn't know the words. One example is last week I did a reading, and people tend to then ask me like, wow, what's your job? Like, what do you do in everyday life? And instead of holding up some picture perfect or trying to look professional or more than what I maybe feel like my life is like, I just said, you know, I can't really say. I do a lot of things. I'm pretty ambitious, and so I have a lot of experience in different things, but I'm going through this phase where I don't really know what it is I'm doing, because I've actually tried a lot of things and they haven't panned out the way I thought they would. And so I can't really answer what it is that I'm doing. Also, I'm just navigating a whole lot of mental health issues that I wasn't really upfront about before, but I've always been struggling with. And I said that to, we were all having dinner after the reading, and it was one person that asked me, but there was like 8 people sitting at that table, maybe 6 to 8 people, and I just felt like the average feeling or vibe on that table was like people were kind of relieved. They're like, wow, I never heard anyone talk so frankly about things that are just real. And it wasn't like people felt sorry for me. I didn't feel any like, oh god, now I'm gonna feel embarrassed about having said that. I felt like everyone was kind of like, yeah, gosh, that's a real experience, and that's hard. I was like, yeah. And they were like, yeah. And I think everyone felt kind of happy that I was just like saying it like it is. I guess I was really relaxed because of that as well. So it was for me a very positive experience. Yeah, so I've noticed how, look, I wasn't really able to talk about those kind of things or about CPTSD to just anyone just asking me, gosh, what's your job, you know? I'm like, I have CPTSD. It's like, why would you tell anyone that? But yeah, I felt like sometimes but I know that this is me, this is the way that I communicate with the world. It's like, I feel like that's my role, that to open up about these things that feel kind of out there, and to because I look like a very smiley, cute person, you know, people will not easily think the worst of me. They kind of go, "Oh, she's so nice," and then she said that. I was like, "Wow, that gave me something to think about," you know. So it's very easy for me to kind of bridge that gap. I feel, and I've had to practice it all my life. And I've found ways to do it. I've found ways to be charming and edgy at the same time. It's something that I almost enjoy. But the most of it comes from a sense of, I just wish that anyone out there would be able to have some comfort, have some relaxation, have some honor for themselves if they are going through something like that, or, you know, not to put themselves down. And so anytime that I discover something that I find worthwhile to not have to be down about, or not, yeah, not like punish myself about, then I just want everyone else to also feel that kind of relaxation in their body. So I guess what I want to talk about today is the building of emotional muscle, and also moving from being very much cognitive oriented to not throwing that completely out the window, but understanding how embodiment is like so important, and maybe even more important, or to just understand or feel into what embodiment is, because having only cognitive function doesn't work. And the building of emotional muscle has a lot to do with the emotions, and the ability to actually come to like also be able to distinguish in a healthy way emotional issues and not emotional issues. Uh, two sentences that have really stuck with me in the past few days are, I don't take shit from people. That's one. And the other one is, I take no prisoners. And I'm not actually sure if I'm using that term correctly, but I just have this really strong feeling about these. And they both have to do with like situations that I'm encountering, where like basically one of the foundational rules, I think, of this universe, of like our law, cosmic law, and when it has to do with karma or things like that, is care. So caring about others, caring about yourself, and being generous and caring towards the world around you, and that always works. It always works to balance out everything. Like, I care enough about myself that I don't let myself suffer needlessly, and I care about others, and being of service to others means that I'm actually also just servicing myself and life, and it's just a universal law. But within the care, the law of care is take no shit. Like, and this is where I just want to drop back into the theme of codependency, which I'm seeing a lot of situations around me about codependency, and I might be having to learn a lot about my own codependency again, like in a new level, where I'm realizing like when I have pleasing behavior, I am actually taking shit from others. It's like they get to treat me in ways that are not good, and I am not responding in a healthy way. I am not showing up for myself. I'm not showing people how I need to be respected. And I think within codependency, I often hear, like, it's very common for people to say, I'm being a nice person and therefore others need to treat me well. You deserve to be respected and to be treated well, but you have a role in that. And you don't get to force your hand in the world. You get to choose what is a yes and what is a no. And you have to act on that. So, what I mean when, like a literal example of I don't take shit, is there's a big difference for me if someone doesn't agree with me and they're emotional about that. I might be acting in a situation that is feeling hurtful for someone. But for me, it can be like, yeah, but, you know, if you come to me and you tell me this, then I could talk to you about it, and I feel like I could explain, you know, and I am acting in the best way possible for me, and this is just my truth. And I don't desire to hurt anyone, and I'll do everything in my capacity to not hurt people. But if I see something that is correct for me to do, and someone else is like, but that makes me really emotional and you're leaving me with no choice, and I'm like, actually you do have a choice. From your capacity, you're now really emotional, but that's because you're in imbalance. That is because you are needing the world to be in a certain way so that you don't feel fear. And I can't help it if I'm triggering the shit out of you, because you actually need to face that fear. This is not actually a situation where I know this person very well. It's just that I'm realizing that my being in a situation is causing someone else to feel very triggered or insecure, and I'm like, I am not gonna say sorry for who I am, where I am, or what I am, the life that I have chosen to live. I do the best that I can, but when I see something is just, I'm not gonna accommodate people's fears. I can be kind and say that, look, I really understand, and you know, I'm not gonna trigger you just to make you feel bad. So yeah, but it just makes life a lot simpler. And I've had to work through my own issues in how I was being very codependent, and I would say things like, I would like return to the place of drama again and again. It was like a very attractive place to me. It wouldn't sound attractive, but like my own anger and wanting to be seen and wanting to have the other person acknowledge me, that I'm right, you know, that I'm a good person, I'm a kind person, look at everything that I'm doing for you, how can you treat me this way, you know, how can you not acknowledge the goodness in me, and how I'm, you know, being so selfless and being there for you. Ooh girl, like I am saying these things to in a tone that it's sounds as much like how I was, like how I was self-talking, like how I was talking to my friends about my relationships. And I'm just saying to myself, like, now I can see I had a choice. I had a choice to be in that relationship, and I was unconsciously choosing drama because it was really like there was a big attraction for me in that. It wasn't like I wanted to be attracted to such a dramatic situation, but I kept engaging. And I think those kind of situations are very kind of difficult because you don't always see what the reason is that you're engaging. And it was purely emotional. And the emotions are really important to listen to. And I found that through my friends supporting me and just reflecting to me everything that I was saying and how this person has probably really not got my best interests at heart. And they were being really emotional in that situation where I was codependent. And they were able to actually manipulate me very profoundly because I had no notion of like how to get out of that confusion. I just kept being confused and being sucked in. And it wasn't, that person was probably very unconscious of what what they were doing and what kind of effect it was having on me. And I just kept being sucked in like a moth to the light, you know, to the firelight. It was burning me like bad. And actually the pain catalyzed me to like really go back to the drawing table about like who do I think I am? Like, and that's like the positive thing that such a dramatic situation can hold within it. Like if we are able to go like, all right, I'm feeling so much pain, I'm completely blaming this other person, I'm finding myself unable to stop like being here and wanting to fix. And like everything, when I thought about it from like abstractly, I was like, I literally don't need to be with this person. Like I don't have children with them, I'm not married to them, I don't have like any agreements in place that like I can literally just say, you know what, this is not working for me. I'm just so upset. I don't know what's going on, but I want to get away. I don't want to do this anymore. And that would be that. It might be unpleasant for a while, but it was just like, yeah, I could leave. It was just, we were only dating. So um, the thing was, I had to, I had to like take apart the whole emotional thing, and that I was feeding the emotional fire. It's just a thing that we do. Once we get angry, we kind of feel really like we can feel very righteous about our anger, but we might not realize that we don't get to change the other person's mind if they're unchangeable. We don't get to force anyone else's hand. We don't get to force the other person to see us. If they're unable, we need to take that to heart. Like the reality is they're unable. That can be so hard. Oh my gosh, that can be so hard. And I kind of want to talk about like later on also like ancestral DNA, because that's a lot of the thing that's like now coming up, like how all of us might be getting a little more in touch with like the depth of where our traumas come from, or like ancestral memory, or you know, all the videos that I've been talking about this kind of thing. That it might also have like our patterns and the things that we get emotional about and the things that feel to us kind of impossible. Those are really, really interesting. Like our friends might be able to say to us, this person is having such a bad effect on you. It's really strange how you don't see it. hopefully we have friends that can tell us that, or that we're able to reflect on it ourselves. And I think sometimes, like, I would feel sorry for myself. Like, I've had 10 long relationships, like, serious relationships, like, monumental relationships. um, and I'm friends with a few of the people that I have been in a relationship with, but it's like, I felt sorry for myself so many times. It's kind of funny to me now, but I'm a different person now. But I felt sorry for myself. I felt like I was right, but I stayed in the relationships for way longer than you would have thought. And it had a lot to do with that I felt like I needed to stay to try and change the other person's mind, basically. Or that I could still see potential. I hadn't really realized that the universe is super um, abundant, and I don't really need like 10 relationships. I only need one. Or maybe like 2 or 3. I don't know. But like, even getting one great relationship is like would already fulfill so many of my desires, right? So many of my needs. So it really wasn't about quantity. But somehow I kind of, I think a lot of us kind of go into the world and saying, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I don't see how I'm ever gonna find the right person. I don't see how anyone's ever gonna like me. And it's like, yeah, but dude, you're only looking for one person, or like maybe 2, or maybe 3. And like, the universe is so abundant. Like, how can you not feel like the universe can absolutely send you people that are, a great match for you? You only need a few. So it's not like how you need to eat every day and like have diversity in your food. It's different. So, um, yeah, I kept thinking, like, how am I ever going to find the right group? Apparently, I thought I needed like 100 people or something. I didn't literally think that, but I think like subconsciously, I was always looking for my world. Like, there must be a million people somewhere, that if I don't find them, I'm just gonna be completely lost for the rest of my life. I think that program has been running subconsciously, um, and like looking into the world and just feeling like everything is shit. All relationships and all people are shit. They don't even see themselves, they don't reflect on themselves. Like, okay, so here I was feeling sorry for myself, being really judgmental about everyone, and thinking, because I'm a great person, and so how do I always meet the wrong people? And I know a lot of people who are very spiritual, or they feel like they are the nicest people in the world. And if you really like hear them out, you'll find out that they actually see the whole world filled with really bad people. I am sure that someone watching this, in fact, I think most people watching this are gonna be like, yeah, the world is filled with shit people. And I'm gonna tell you, like, probably not. This is what I realized from like stepping out of codependency. I know I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing at you, because it's very common. And it's very weird to me also that I managed to get out of it, but the world truly looks very different. So I have actually talked about this in many other videos, but like, I was very codependent because I couldn't walk away from bad situations because I felt like I needed to change those situations. And I actually often got into dynamics that seem very normal to everyone, but really aren't that healthy, which is trying to force other people to change. Um, and I think we find it all very normal because we all probably didn't come from childhoods where our parents were modeling to us how, like, not putting up with shit, and then, like, trying to resolve conflicts in ways that turn out to be healthy relationships, even though maybe they don't stay together, but they're, putting forward like ways of like, and I know that everyone does their best, so it is like really up to the consciousness that we have around things and how aware we are. And so thank you for watching this, and I hope you take something away from this video, because I realized that really not a lot of people get to that place. We kind of keep going around in the same circles and being codependent and like trying to think moralistically, that in the way that society says that people should be and should act, but not really going for true fulfillment of our relationships and of our lives, which is more like, who actually am I? And apart from like trying to accommodate society, who do I actually need to be? Like, we are in such a big transformation in this life and in this time. We just entered the Aquarius time space and like things are changing rapidly, and we really have the opportunity, I find, to ride that wave of change. And I think if you're watching this, you are that person that is like ready to to be aware, to make conscious changes. So, all right. So, feeling sorry for yourself might be one way to catch that things where you might actually have choices, but as important as it is to just let yourself feel sorry for yourself, but to also realize that's an emotion that is connected to feelings of powerlessness, and you always have choices. So if you're keeping on engaging emotionally with a situation that, if you step back from it and maybe ask other people, or and be aware of what is going on there, and like, if the other person is actually never going to change or they don't want to, instead of, and I know it's a tough break. I know it's really, really hard. I know it's heartbreaking. It's a real tragedy to find out that the people you love or the person that you're in a relationship with don't actually want to change, or don't actually have the capacity to make decisions that would honor you, or respect you, or make you feel better. But like, whether they consciously or not consciously do that, that is where they're at, and you have a choice to stay in the situation or try to remedy that by either moving away or going into conflict. And you might find out that conflict doesn't get you to where you need to go. And on the other hand, you might find out that conflict changes things, and this is where emotional muscle comes into play. So going into conflict is not something that we necessarily are able to do from like naturally. It's something that we have to learn. It's something like, it's a whole realm where there's a lot of pressure that we have to learn to navigate. And early on, especially if we have like trauma from childhood, or we just don't have like a lot of great examples of people that are able to keep their cool, or and really like be connected to their emotions, but at like simultaneously also navigate pressure and conflict and like being yeah, like having highly pressurized situations. That is something that we all have to learn. And so you can stop right now with telling yourself, like, I can't do that, it's too hard. Everybody had to learn that at some point. And if you had a really good childhood, then your parents supported you when you like went through your no phase or like showed aggression, and they helped you like to really stay in your truth, to really be embodied in your emotions and not have to like how really for a lot of us we had childhoods where as soon as we assert ourselves, we're met with parents that are aggressors, that are like, you don't get to be you, you don't get to have your truth, because I'm going to act in a way that is just feeling really unsafe. Like, for example, a parent that, or a caretaker that isolates you, like just completely abandons you. Maybe they didn't literally abandon you, but you might feel like that. Like, wow, okay, so if I get angry, you're actually not going to be here anymore. Like, for little children, you don't know the difference. So you might have learned, like, okay, I'm not going to be angry because that's actually not going to get my needs met. And so, later on in life, it can be like you actually need to go into conflict and to hold your own, and to not be disconnected from your emotions, so that you do really know where you're at, and you can tell like what is it actually that you want, and you can communicate it directly. And then also be, this is where your emotional emotional your emotional muscle like has to grow through experience, through trial and error, and we all have to error in order to, know like, okay, I'd rather not do that next time. And we're all gonna be overwhelmed and, feel like it's the hardest thing in the world, especially if you have had codependency issues or being a pleasing kind of personality. So, yeah. Emotional muscle is something that you grow through doing it, through experiencing it, through trying it. And it might get you into uncomfortable waters, and you're gonna have to stomach that. And also, at the same time, like, grow yourself up and be a really nice person to yourself, and like, acknowledge for yourself, like, if that's really hard, that yeah, that those are some of the hardest things that we learn. But when this starts happening and you're like, wait, okay, I'm gonna stop feeling like staying at that level of feeling sorry for myself and telling myself, well, I'm the good person in this situation, other people are bad people. You just stop that whole monologue, and you start like seeing like, okay, this person is actually not able or willing or conscious enough to be respectful to me. It is my job to now I'm the one who's aware and conscious, and so I'm not gonna force this person. I'm gonna get a better life. I'm gonna move away, from this person. I'm gonna reinvent my life without this person so close to me. I might need them to be like in my life, but you don't always have the choice. Like with family, you might not have the choice to really move away. If you have financial relationships with each other, you might have to take steps. But yeah, I'm not gonna stay in the close proximity of this person. And I'm also not gonna dwell on like how all of the things. I'm not gonna like dwell on being angry. I'm not gonna invest emotions into this. That's going to be hard and it's a process on its own, but I am actually going to invest in myself and move towards better ground, higher ground. I am learning from this. I get to do this. I'm going to take these things. It's going to be a hard trip, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to, going to grieve. I'm going to be confused. Hopefully you have friends around you, people that can assist you and like bolster your self-confidence and like, yes, you did the right thing. And God knows, like it took me like, it's now a year ago about the relationship that I am kind of alluding to. And it's only now and taking all of these steps and really knowing more and more about myself so that I can look back and be like, whoa, that is so crazy that I would have been attached to that person. And like how the ways in which this person was acting towards me, and like whoa, that was so abusive. And it was so abusive of me to think that I could somehow save that situation, or think that I need to be with this person, or like I was so infatuated. This word infatuation, it like blows my mind because it's like literally I was infatuated. I like wanted this person. I was like, but I see the potential because this is, I'm gonna have so much happiness in my life if we just get this, tweak these little things, I was like, now I even look at the astrology and I'm like, yeah. Yeah, Mars square Pluto, Mars square the moon, Pluto square my moon. It's like, whoa, wow, yeah. I mean, and the person who has the Pluto could be super unconscious about what they're doing. And if they're not the kind of person who has actually grown and become very conscious, it's probably not going to happen. They're probably not going to realize what they're doing. Maybe they would. I don't know. Go out there and find out. But yeah, in this situation, actually, the person even like threatened me with violence. I was like, yeah, those are the kind of things that can also happen. And like, how do you ever come back from that? And like, this person did not want to take any responsibility for that. He was just like, yeah, that was kind of over the top. And that was it. That was his apology. I was like, yeah, no, we can't, I can't be in that situation. That's like crazy. But yeah, it took me a long while. I'm just telling you this so you don't have to feel bad about the situations that you find yourself in, but like take it seriously, and grow that emotional muscle, and don't tell yourself like I'm the better person here. Maybe you are. So the fuck what? Like, are you actually going to give yourself better situations? If so, you need to be acting, like, and not only having internal monologues or dialogues with yourself like I'm a good person. No, it doesn't. Like the universe, this is where I think about cosmic law. Like, cosmic law says don't take shit. If you take shit, you are part of that abuse. You are part of the equation that is making that situation possible. I know it's a really, really hard thing to swallow, but in the cosmic law, I think, this is really truly my opinion and my perspective, and I've heard a lot of other people say it as well, but it's just like, okay, let me sketch a situation, right? Maybe I'm looking at, maybe I'm a child, and I'm looking at my parents. And I'm so used to like mom being the one being angry at dad, and then saying like I'm super insecure, mom saying I'm super insecure about things, and dad being like, all right, I'm just gonna try and like accommodate that, all the things that you're insecure about, and I'm just gonna make our lives a little smaller so you don't have to be insecure about a whole lot of things. And like dad is not actually really living his life. And And a lot of people do this. Like, this is basically our parents from the 50s. Like, right? This is the norm. This is how society and morality tells us, like, you don't get to do this or that. You don't get to rock the boat. You have to be the stable person. If God forbid you do anything that seems out of the ordinary, whole of society can be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you weirdo. Like, how would you subject your wife to that, or your children, or like, what are you doing? It can get really ugly. Like, people don't really support like the crazy shit that we need to do to follow our soul. I'm not saying like be irresponsible, but like, if your soul is calling you to change up, and like your relationship is being like, nope, I don't accept, or like, this cannot happen, you cannot tell me the truth about who you are, because I'm gonna feel super insecure. I am saying something that is very extreme, but I'm saying it to you so that you might sense like, wait, it's a lot of times that this is how codependency works. It's like, I'm gonna save you some trouble, even though it's gonna mean that I don't get to grow. But I'm gonna tell myself that this is safer, and it's your call. But then think about the child that grows up in that. Who's like, right, don't rock the boat. Go a little gray. Don't show all your colors, because that could be dangerous. Someone else they might hold you hostage. They might say, you don't get to do that. You don't get to make me feel insecure. Um, we need to play it safe. Like, children don't really think about all these things cognitively. They just get the sense of like, oh, we need to calm down. We need to be in ways that people don't get scared. They internalize all that shit. So what if instead of that happening, in that, like, both of the parents are taking every opportunity they can to find ways to like, how do you love each other? How do you deeply want to know what the other person's needs are? How do you love them so that it would hurt you to know that they are not fulfilled? Like, courage is like, we need courage for everything. We need courage to say the truth. We need courage to hear the truth. We need courage to go to have conflict. We need courage to face ourselves. And it's just so real that, and I think that for children it's really good to see vulnerability, to see that we don't all got our shit together, and like, because they're also gonna live a life where they're not gonna have their shit together. That's the whole thing about growing and learning new things, right? We're not having our shit together. The question is, how do you navigate that? And children need to see grown-ups finding ways to do that, so that they can actually model healthy courage, healthy expression, healthy following their truth, healthy communicating, healthy unconditional love, or conditional love for that matter. Telling each other, I actually cannot have you do this or that. I cannot change in this ways. And I understand that I'm gonna have to have courage in order to navigate whatever is coming next, whatever that's gonna be. So that is where we have to grow our emotional muscle. And anytime I do that, I'm going to show it to you. So part of my emotional muscle has grown through, yeah, just laying down as much truth about myself as I can, that feels correct, and being vulnerable in that way. So you can't really lose out on that one. And I really trust the people who are watching this, and to take something away from that. And yeah, if people are out here like listening to this point and being like, no way, you know, or just being really disrespectful, like, you do you, but why are you wasting your time listening to me if you could be like learning better things from other people? um, and so, like, I don't take prisoners. That's the other thing that I wanted to say. This it's been running through me. I think that when we realize who we are and what our truth is, and how we don't want to be compromising ourselves in order for other people to feel comfortable in their own fears, in their own like problems. Like, for example, someone feeling insecure about me, like walking into a room and just not feeling insecure. Um, and I know people sometimes think, "Ugh, yeah, she models. Like, of course she's not insecure. Of course she has everything going for her. Of course everyone's gonna pay attention to her." Like, yeah, sometimes, yeah, fuck yeah. Um, but, you know, I have my own road of how I got here, so I don't take that privilege lightly. And if someone's gonna be like, I don't, I don't take shit. I don't allow people that disrespect me or talk down at me to be my friends. You know, um, or else we're gonna have a conflict and we're gonna sort it out. And if you can't step up and stop like being like projecting your own insecurity outwards and just being like just disrespecting other people or talking down at them because you feel insecure, no, I don't take prisoners on my boat, on my, you know, the environment that I'm creating. I don't take prisoners. I don't force you to come along in my boat. I'm just, no, I'm kicking you out right now. So sometimes if I find like comments, like people in the comments going rogue, being like, yeah, like the other day someone was like, here's a toothbrush. And I was like, yeah, I see that. I have brown stains on my teeth because I can't stop drinking coffee. Like, it touches me kind of like, but at the same time I was like, oh, this is my opportunity to show my teeth. God, where did I leave my teeth? I'm gonna have a fun day just figuring out what I'm gonna say. And even though like I wouldn't wanna like talk back at someone in some way, I'm just gonna try it out. I'm just gonna try out my fun conflict cannons. And like, here they come. You're gonna do something in my comments section, I'm gonna be like, I got my gun ready. And I don't know if that's a healthy way to go about it. That's just me. Someone the other day said to me, like, maybe you don't know, but you have a lot of like, like unexpressed rage. And I was like, dude, I know. Like, I don't even know what to do with that. At this point, it's like anytime I can get to express something, I'm like going mad happy. I'm like, yeah, let me punch you in the face. And it's like, I know that is a weird thing to say, but I'm like, I'm just letting my inner witch, my inner macho, my inner strongman, my inner whatever, just having a fun day. I'm like, of course I'm not gonna punch someone in the face. Like, no. But I just messed up my nail. I just messed up my nail. It's okay. It's only nail polish. I'm not gonna punch myself in the face for that. But yeah, I am gonna talk about ancestral DNA right now. Because I think some of the weirdness we might be able to like really understand ourselves by our ancestral DNA. And I have been talking about retrieving memories, so go watch those. But basically, there are very many ways to connect to like what would your ancestry be. I am sorry, I was having gas. So, um, I have to make a new video about this probably, but like my ancestral DNA is Samoan on my mother's side. Um, and that is such a radically different culture than the one that I grew up in and am now in. Um, so, Samoans are pretty famous, I think, for like a lot of contact sports like rugby and American football. In that, they really use their bodies for like maybe conscious violence, you could call it, or aggression. Um, I have seen Samoan people, or when I watch videos or something, like the aspect of aggression seems to be quite strong. Of course, there is the haka, like you have that in Samoa as well as like most people know it from Maori, but yeah, the Samoans are super related to Maori from New Zealand and super related also to Hawaiians. So yeah, that's all Oceania, Polynesia. And from the moments that I have, the what I have experienced in Samoa or with Samoan people, that there seems to be like things are very much one certain way, and if you're not if you have like a completely opposite idea of how the world is, you might not find you I don't know, I found it a little bit difficult to have a different opinion. I found it almost dangerous. Um, like when people are set in their ways, it seems, especially like in Samoa, I found like I almost felt like don't go too far in expressing myself, because if it's something that people totally disagree with, I might get punched in the face. So I'm coming back to the punched in the face. And I think Samoans tend to have, like, with the humor can also be very aggressive. Like, there's a lot of violence in it. Like, people beating their kids. I think a lot of Samoans would say, yeah, it's pretty normal. Maybe, I don't know what today is like, but the way I've understood it, like, yeah, pretty, like, full on. Like, so I can't relate to a lot of the things about Samoan society because I don't know it. You know, I only know things that pertain to my own, like things that I've had to deal with or things that I'm just trying to wrap my head around. So it's a very skewed um, um, look at Samoan society or culture. And obviously, I have it in my blood, in my DNA, in my cells. And I have had moments where, yeah, where I've been even in relationships, but also in other situations where someone was acting at me very aggressively. And depending on who the person was, if I have attracted in my life people that like acted violently towards me, like aggressively, violently, like, yeah. And I've often wondered, like, how did I attract that? Like, I was in those days like a super, super friendly, pleasing, happy girl. Like everyone used to say like, wow, you're always so happy. And I was like, yeah, I'm so happy. And then like I had several things that people were like beating me up. Like that was happening. And because they were super mad at me, and it's not because of something I did, it's like they came out of the blue and decided that they needed to teach me a lesson. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have maybe done a trigger warning. um, but yeah. But then I've also had situations where a guy would be like aggressive towards me and like promising violence, like the guy that I talked about, and I would be like, yeah, fuck you, like, boy, I can take you, like, any day. I will chew you up. I'm laughing, but it's like, oh my god. I think, like, with this last relationship, actually, that guy who, like, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have, like, a full-on moment here. It's vulnerable, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna stand by this later, but I feel like it might be true. Like, this guy, right, from a year ago, um, when he threatened me with violence, I think I felt myself um, like I needed to get to this place where I wasn't even scared, where I felt like even if you tried that, boy, that would not, you would not walk away from that. And I'm not sure if that's healthy, but it's true. And I had to kind of walk myself through whether I was being able to stay with um, the infatuation, because I felt like I can handle this guy, or like somehow in my subconscious there was a lot of violence going on, like aggression, and that I, like, maybe even not realizing that I was looking for a fight, that I was maybe riling him up. Yeah, I was riling him up. Actually, right before that happened, I was riling him up, but for myself, I was like, I'm not emotionally connected to you, so if you go overboard, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, right, bye. So that is a kind of manipulation, yeah. But yeah, it just felt good. I was like, yeah, I felt like I was punishing him in a good way. He had threatened other women before me that I know of. Yeah. And maybe I felt like, I don't know, I'm just saying a whole lot of things here. Yeah, I did step away at that time, so that's good. But I was surprised about how I felt, and I did actually have some like PTSD for like a month or two after that. Yeah, I actually, this is a really interesting thing that happened, is that when that had happened, and like 2 months later, I met this guy, and we really had a nice conversation and something, and then I met up with him again, and then I was like, wait, well, maybe this is a date, I didn't set out to go on a date with him, but he was really interested in me, and I was like, okay, well, who knows, maybe this is a date. And suddenly he was like being so nice to me, like so nice to me, and I looked into his eyes and I was like, I fucking don't trust you. I don't fucking trust this like over the top niceness. And it was serious, like he was trying to convince me, like, I am a nice person, I will be there for you, I want you. It was like, yeah, those are really nice characteristics, but there were some stories about him that I was like, that he was like willing to like show me his child. And like he was like fully like, yeah, my child's gonna love you. I was like, yeah, but your child has gone through so many things that I'm like, why would you expose your child after meeting me 2 times and saying your child will be fine with me? You need to be protecting your child. You don't go around showing your child to every person that you just met that you're like, now I'm in love with this person and this is gonna be great. You know, I just felt like there was something wrong in that, and I didn't really trust it, and I suddenly was afraid that this person might be, you know, capable of violence or capable of threatening me, and I like pulled away, and yeah, and he was like, he was totally like, even though he was a really nice guy, he kept on like being like, well, you know, if you're gonna be afraid of me, you know, you're gonna be like total, like, he was like getting in on my life situations, like, no, 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 no. And I was like, oh God, I dodged a bullet. And I think a lot of guys think that they need to be really nice and kind, and I think it's really good to be kind. But sometimes, like what I was saying, like you miss the point. Like you might be very much in this like this system, this coping mechanism of like not realizing what's the difference between your emotions and what's actually safe. So, and being actually conscious and having conversations about, you know, and I think I didn't really give this guy a chance, to be honest. I just felt like I really don't want to go down this road. I don't want to experiment with this. I now realize that I have PTSD. I am just gonna back the fuck away and I'm just gonna be like, bye. Thank you God, you showed me something. I don't know if this was a great person, because I don't have to take care of anyone anymore. I don't have to hold anyone's hand and tell them like, thank you for being so nice to me. Thank you for being like great. No, I don't have to. I don't take prisoners. This guy, like, after I was like, no, I'm sorry, that was a date, but that ends right there. And, like, he's, like, was sending me too many messages, and I was like, you need to calm down your messages. And then there was, like, more and more, and I was like, oh, hell no. I don't have to adjust myself for someone and say like why would I adjust myself? Like, if I know who I'm looking for and what I'm looking for, and like I start feeling really weird about someone and I try to tell them, and you know, it ends up with more weirdness, like, I don't have to solve that situation, dudes. I can walk away, and I know that this person will possibly keep thinking like, that bitch. You're like, dude, anyone holding on to thinking that bitch is like, do you not have better things to do in life? Like, you don't need to force anyone to be with you. You don't have to get anyone to acknowledge that you're a good person. I mean, it would be great if, like, women stopped being threatened by men, and, like, you don't, like, people threatening me is like, I need to force you because you're not understanding me, so I need to threaten you so you can understand that I'm feeling really hurt. No, you can say, I feel really bad and I don't want to, you need to not be in my life. It's like, okay. You know. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a bit of my ancestral DNA talk. I'm sorry that went, maybe I had to give a trigger warning. Yeah, I'm realizing that my ancestors lived, this is a totally different story, but it has to do with all of this. And like, you might find, like, Samoans are super close to indigenous life, like really having a lot of tradition about the way that they live, and a they have a very specific way that the culture works. So families live together. Um, there's like everyone takes care of each other. There's the head of the family, and the head of the family is most responsible for everyone, even sometimes for distributing like wealth, um, making sure no one um, falls off track. Um, there's not, as far as I understood, there's not even like police in outside of the city of Samoa. So you have American Samoa and Samoa, and it used to be called West Samoa, but it's now just called Samoa. And outside of the city, I've understood that there isn't police because families do that themselves. Like the chiefs do that, and like the chiefs would be the heads of families. And so people are really like so familially tied. Like I don't know for sure, but I would think that if you don't have familial ties, or you're like somehow exiled from your family, I feel like that would cause like a kind of suicidal psychological damage. I would think, like, because they have had the same culture and being on a small island for at least 3,500 years, maybe longer. And so I would understand it as you can't actually just get off the island. Like you don't get away from your family. You live with your family, you do everything with your family, and so also all of the psychology might be very much like this mix of how do you deal with family. Um, and like I have a very specific way of looking at that, but that's only from like the problem aspects, because I've had a lot of to deal with a lot of that in my life, like with Stockholm syndrome, which is like when you can't get out of a situation, the psyche has to find other ways to just be okay. And now it's not about what is the actual truth or what is the best, the best option for the soul, for the unique soul. You can't actually follow that path without um, maybe creating rupture in the structure of the family. Um, and so that might be super hard or maybe even impossible. And well, I have noticed that part of my personality is that wherever I am, people that I connect to, when I feel like I think this is genuinely a great person, if I even know them for more than a month, they're like my family. Like I can suddenly like be like, you need to be in my life. Like now I've just it was weird before because I was being very pleasing and like just kind of going with the flow and like going with the flow of Western life, which is very individual and it's very toxic to my being, because I feel like my DNA really isn't made for that. And maybe for most people it's like that. Like we are supposed to have proximity of tribe and not live individual lives. But for me, I've recently started, because of this whole authenticity journey that I'm, and my astrology, I've just been realizing more and more, like I don't actually function very well when I not have like a close-knit group of friends. Like I grow so much when I have those people, and when there's consistency, which would have been like, the Samoan culture would have had super consistent family ties. Like you know who you go to, even if it's not your favorite thing, you do know who has your back or who doesn't have your back, or but you don't have this like existential crisis of like, who do I even have? Who even knows me? Who are my friends? Who is my family? Where's my home? All of those things would not happen in this vacuum, you know, where and this is something that maybe if you're adopted, or maybe if you've been displaced from your original like family land, or where your culture comes from. And if your culture or family had very strong ties with the land or with the culture and, you know, this kind of thing, then you also might have this other distinct way that your cells, your DNA, wants to be in connection with others. And so, just another piece of the puzzle. And yeah, in my video about retrieving lost memories, I also talked about the ancestral DNA, and that our bodies really are, in a metaphysical way, but in a very real way, our past. Our body is made up of everything that our ancestors have endured, right back to the first single-celled organism. You know, we have all of that stored in our cells, and our cells act automatically unless we bring consciousness in and start realizing that we have choices, that we can realize when, like, is it an emotion, and what's driving me in this moment, and do I want to keep doing that? And then we get to this very beautiful but very difficult thing that happens in everyone's lives, and especially after 40, which is like, before 40, you're like unconsciously just acting out all of the patterns, and some of us might have been having to heal a lot of things because of like CPTSD or other sorts of traumas, or just like interested in personal growth. But then after 40, you really get this like, okay, this is like, everything is automatic until 40 or whatever I've done. And then after 40, it's like, okay, we're done with that now. If you don't start changing these things, your life's gonna suck. And this is where you start to find like, oh my God, I have to get vulnerable. I have to start becoming authentic. And if you don't, life starts to suck. You don't, you might, I don't know, maybe it doesn't, but you need to stop forcing people to be in your life or to be in a certain way in relationship to you. And you need to start like growing your emotional muscle if you haven't yet, because like, you need to get this, like, yeah. And just my whole final thing about all of this is believe in yourself. What I'm telling you is me looking back in hindsight, coming out of codependency, and like, I needed to believe in myself. I needed my friends to believe in me. And I made changes that made me now be in a completely different level, being able after codependency to say like, I take no shit. I care, and I take no shit. And I don't think I don't see the world as bad people and good people, because I'm not a good person. I'm just a human. I'm a person. I have missions in my life. There are even things that I have realized now. I'm gonna turn 44 in 1 month exactly. It's the 25th of November today. So in 1 month exactly, I'm gonna turn 44. And there have been things in this last year that I thought, girl, you need to transform those things. And I found myself lacking. I had to be like, all right, I fall short. I don't manage. This might take longer. This might take a lot longer. And then all of the things that I thought about my personality, I'm so wrong about this, I am like, I'm putting that on the back burner. It's burning, it's boiling, I keep on, growing, but I'm gonna stop kicking myself. Yeah, I have come through a lot, and I'm sure you have too. And now when I go into relationships, I offer more of, um, like, I am all of these things. I am all of the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the enthusiastic me, the child parts, the parts where I might be immature. Yeah, it's some parts are my character, other parts are because I just didn't learn. And I'm gonna expect everyone to just, you know, either help me or we have conflict or we figure it out. But yeah, every time that I can have learn better ways of communicating, like the intimacy is gonna grow, man. Like, if we can trust ourselves on where we're at now, who knows the beauty that we can find in life. And even if it's not forever, if this relationship doesn't last forever, man, I'm gonna try and respect you and to see you for the human that you are and not everything that you need to be perfect or something or need to be perfect by society's standards. I'm gonna cheer you on. And since I start to know like some of the things that are in my DNA, I know what you can expect of me and I know what you can't. Um, I'm probably not gonna be able to shut my mouth when I see something that I feel is wrong. I'm probably gonna try and be pleasing about it until I just can't, and then I'm just gonna floop it out, and then I'm gonna feel bad for a little while and have a vulnerability hangover, and then I'm gonna be like, anyway, fuck it. And I'm gonna be the best cheerleader you ever had for your growth. And yeah, also, as soon as I grow further and I'm like, wait, I actually can't handle this in my life, I am not going to take prisoners. I am probably, if it means losing people that just can't grow with me or I'm not able to take them along, I'm probably going to have to say, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. Um, and yeah, that's the worst thing about growing. Is leaving people you love. But then, like, loving yourself unconditionally, like learning to love yourself unconditionally and knowing that staying in people's lives that you actually shouldn't be in their lives because you're not really a match. You're just taking up space that could be filled by someone else who wanted to be there, you know? And that would mean more. And simultaneously the other way around, the person that you're keeping in that space where you actually are just longing for something else, like, there's also consequences to being conscious that you need to grow and not growing. But yeah, it's life. we get to make choices. And the more hard, difficult things we choose to face, we start up-leveling the quality of our choices. Instead of having to choose between two evils, we start to see the opportunity in the choices that we get to make. And sometimes they're gonna feel like shit, and I'm gonna, feel really sad, and I'm gonna have to feel a lot of grief. But then I also hold myself like, life's abundant. Life's abundant. Life is always wanting to show you the next incredible thing that you're gonna be like, wait, what? How good is this? And then you're gonna have to up-level and like face more things and grow more. It never stops. And we get to be grateful for the hard things that we did, for the times that we were so courageous. We get to, we get to feel just what kind of a soul we are. Yeah, and also to be so compassionate to everyone, like when people are just not able to change and maybe they don't want to, and you can see like, okay, it gets easier. Like, I still honor you, I still love you, I still respect you, but you're not going to be part of my life, not in the same way. And yeah, letting people off the hook and letting them live their lives. They choose that, even if it's unconscious. They choose it. You don't have to be mommy. You only have to be mommy to your kids and to kids in general. Yeah. All right, guys. That's also Samoan, I think. Like, be mom to all the kids. I hope this was fun for you and somehow just gave you something to chew on or make you happy. And yeah, let me know what you're up about, and anything that resonated with you or didn't. I didn't try to give a complete like story about everything. I'm just weaving it as I go, and so I might have left out a whole lot of important things. But yeah, I wish you, just to come back full circle, like, I wish you emotional muscle building. It's a process. Oh, yeah. And when you start to build emotional muscle and go into the conflict and navigate and see yourself like face things that you didn't do before and start to have positive experiences, and like people around you saying like, yeah, I understood that you confronted me with this, but you know what? It's kind of clarifying things, and I'm really glad that it shows you care. You want things to get better, and I want to meet you there. I also want things to get better. And you start to get to become more intimate, and you start to have better relationships. You start to know people deeper, and that's what you want, to feel more connected, and you start to feel like your relationships can be home. I'm a Cancer. It's important to me to feel at home with people. But I'm sure you do too. And I think a lot of us are really longing to feel connected and to feel seen and known. And that's the great journey that we're on. So be courageous. Think of me when you find yourself in a situation where you have to build some emotional muscle, and take it easy on yourself, but be courageous. Like, grow a set of balls, a set of ovaries, and go for it. You will look back and realize that you have more and more opportunity and choice the bigger your emotional muscle is. And suddenly your horizons are open, and you can see how the universe can shower you with abundance, because you're always going to learn and grow that muscle, and you don't have to wait for anyone, because when you have choices, yeah, you learn to make them. You just make the choice that is right or that feels better, and you don't have to put up with anyone's shit. You don't have to drag them along with you either. Take no prisoners, and don't take any shit. And then you can feel so much freer to love, to show your care. Yeah, people love that. Alright, I'm sending you love. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.